Today, I'm breaking down Alex Hormozi's cold outreach strategy, which is one of the core four, which is a concept taken from his $100 million leads book, How to Get Strangers to Want to Buy Your Stuff. Fantastic book. If you haven't picked it up, highly recommend. So I want to go over what cold outreach is, how to do it, how Hormozi suggests you do it, and then give you some tools and suggestions that I use because it's something that I've gotten really good at. And if you're in the B2B space and you are trying to generate leads, cold outreach is really, really good and quite cost efficient. So you can see here that the core four is a concept that Hormozi talks about in the book, right? And he's like, there are only four ways that you can let people know about your stuff. Either you can do warm outreach, cold outreach, post free content, run paid ads. And side note, if you just pick one of these and you spend 100 minutes a day for the next 100 days working on either one of these, your business will be unrecognizable. That's all it takes, literally, is 100 days to completely change your business, your life, and your profitability. So let's say, for argument's sake, we pick cold outreach here. Now, what is cold outreach? Well, these are the methods of cold outreach that you can use. Now, there's email, which is really good if you have access to a large amount of lists, a huge amount of people in your ICP. Let's say 10,000 plus. If you work in a crazy niche industry and you only have about 50 people, then email is probably not the best thing for you. Phone calls, so you can just go through a phone book and cold call people. When I was, in another life, I worked in insurance, and I had a team of people that were cold calling every day, and they just go through the phone book, literally, and just call people, right? And they had scripts. You can DM them, so on Instagram, on school, on Facebook, whatever. You can even send them a postcard, like send them some kind of lumpy mail or something handwritten or unique. Now, a phone call is like cold calling is great if you're in like local service area or a local sort of, if you're in a local industry or you're doing some kind of local service business, they're fantastic. Or if you have a relatively small niche or it's like a bit of an old school, not tech forward industry, like, I don't know, you're an agency that works with landscapers and you sell them leads or something. They aren't, I mean, they're on Facebook, but you're better going through a phone book and actually calling them and cold calling them. DMing them. So if you are a coach or something and you run an Instagram, DMing people that way, or, I get tons of DMs of people trying to work with me. I tell you what, I have never gotten, and I'll talk about it in a second, but it would blow my mind if somebody would do this. And then if you have super high value leads that, the cost of the lifetime value of one of those leads turning into a customer is like 6 figures plus, and you have a very small ICP pool to pull from, sending them, quote, postcard, like lumpy pieces of mail is a really great way of getting their attention, right? And so I think you don't just go in and pick one of these based on which one you prefer to do. It needs to be something based on where you're, like, meet your ICP where they are, what is the medium in which they converse usually, how can you reach them easily, what is your offer, how many people exist in your ICP, so it's not as cut and dry as just go, oh, we'll just email people, right? Which is a mistake I see a lot of people make. And the difference between cold outreach and warm outreach is that they're strangers, right? Strangers don't trust you. Everyone on the internet looks like a scammer. Everyone's asking for your money. And so they, excuse me, still a bit sick. Pineapple. So everyone's asking for your money. And how do you sell to these strangers, right? First, you need to find a way to contact them. Then you need to find a way to get their attention. and then you need to get them interested in your offer. So how do we contact strangers? Well, number one, we can look at scraping softwares. So these are things like LinkedIn Sales Nav, Apollo, Instantly. So for those of you that don't know, Apollo is a great place to get a whole bunch of leads. Usually they're really good at scraping email addresses and phone numbers. I've never used them for phone numbers. I typically don't use Apollo directly. What I would do is I would go and I would get the link from Apollo and then use other scraping software because Apollo is extremely expensive. So you can use something like Appify, for example, right? Fantastic, very low cost. Apollo is a lot more expensive. And also what I found is that if I use Apollo, oftentimes I get decent results, but it's usually... Okay, let me show you some of the back-end stuff here and actually give you some of the source. Okay, so this is the back end of Instantly that I'm actually using to run for my business. I'm reaching out to business owners. You can see here that this is a lead list that I scraped from Apollo. And so just to show you how important it is, the offer was the same, the copy is the same, but the lead list was scraped from a different location. This is being scraped from Apollo. We got 2.5% reply, which was still decent. If I come in here, you can see that 65% replied, excuse me, positively. But it's still not, crazy numbers. And then if you start to see here, I changed where I scraped the leads from. I started scraping them from LinkedIn Sales Navigator and enriching them with a whole bunch of fancy AI stuff. And you can start to see that we got 14%, 11%, 20%, 27% even. And, some pretty ridiculous numbers, even relatively at scale. And so it just goes to show you like how important it is to like choose the lead source correctly, because even Hormozi himself says that the most important thing is choosing the right audience or finding your starving crowd, and then the offer, and then your marketing. And so this is essentially finding your starving crowd, but just on one of these platforms, right? And so, yes, you can also source leads from Instantly. My favorite place to do it is LinkedIn Sales Nav. And so I would go through here and use all the filters. So let me sort of do this from scratch. Yeah, so you would come through here and you would go, okay, let's say people in North America, company headcount is something like this. I mean, obviously it depends on who you're trying to target, right? If I'm looking only for founders or partners or owners, I would do that. And the industry, let's say, excuse me, advertising services. And then something that, so you can see I've got 120,000 results. Something that whittles it down a lot and really just gives me like the most engaged people is this little one here. So this is a fantastic little hack for you. Post it on LinkedIn. So what it'll do, it'll basically, there's a lot of dead LinkedIn accounts that created an account just because they had to or because it was cool 5 years ago or something. Never posted anything, and so it's a waste of time. If they're posted on LinkedIn, usually means, I think this is even in the last 90 days. Yeah, you see? Posted on LinkedIn in the last 30 days. So it's a really great indicator of people that are active on LinkedIn. Now, what I would do from here is take this and then load it into something called Expandy, right? Which is this tool here. And it's actually meant to automate outreach with LinkedIn, but I don't use it for that because LinkedIn are pretty hardcore about automation rules, and so I actually use it to scrape the leads from LinkedIn Sales Nav and enrich them with email addresses, because you can't get the email addresses directly from Sales Nav. So that's another fun fact. I'll try and leave all the links to these tools. Some of them will be affiliate links in the description. These are genuinely the things that I teach. These are genuinely the things that I use every day. So why wouldn't you? Now, of course, if you want to learn how to use these and like what parameters I use and the scripts and the even have access to the SOPs and stuff, then this is the Shipping Society. This is my private school group. And you can see inside the classroom, I'm starting to add cold outreach courses, processes and SOPs and all that kind of good stuff here. So yeah, come in and check it out. It's a good time. There's nothing to lose. Of course, you've got 30 days to change your mind. So come in and check that out. So look, this is not something to go like, oh yeah, I'm just going to use Apollo because that's the easiest, or I'm just going to use Apify because that's the cheapest. Like LinkedIn Sales Nav and Expandy is a very expensive, complicated process, because I also load it into Clay and I enrich it with some more AI stuff. But I would highly recommend you do something like that, because it's just been absolutely game changing. Like to go from 2% to, what do we say, 27% is outrageous. Like it's unheard of. And so if you're an agency owner, to be able to get 27% replies to your outreach is crazy, and to be able to offer that to a client is pretty incredible. So you can get them that way. You can get your list that way, or you can get it from a broker, right? So list building brokers, ask them to build a list according to your audience criteria. So I spoke to a guy the other day who has a very niche offer, and he only deals with people that have a specific plugin installed on their website. And so he has a very specific list that he has scraped and curated, and it makes a lot of sense for him there. And there are brokers out there that would facilitate that. And then of course you can manually scrape everything from like a semi-warm audience, right? And so I see a lot of people. So I not only have the free group, but I have not only have the paid group, but I have the free group here. So I see a lot of people sort of farming engagement and stuff like that in here. I'm not completely against it, which is, go out and get your bread. But that's why I created this here. People that want to connect with other people, they want to hire or collaborate or something like that. But I know that it's massive, these groups with hundreds of thousands of people inside them, that they get inside it and then they connect with other people that way, and then they DM them. And, that's kind of how I started back in the day. I was inside of Facebook groups and asking people what they want and replying to comments and making friends and building relationships that way. And, putting together a list of those sorts of people and then building rapport, et cetera, et cetera. So now, the best way to get these people's attention and then get them interested in your offer, first of all, is to have an offer that is outrageously good, that they'd feel stupid saying no to, but also putting together some kind of free value for them without them asking for it, or without them offering, without being like, hey, I created this Loom video for you. Can I send it over? How about just send me the Loom video? The amount of people that have DM'd me this kind of stuff, which I do think is a great way of outreaching, is to create personalized Loom videos. But what most people do is they think they're being sneaky by saying, hey, do you mind? I created this amazing video for you. Can I send it over to you? And then when you reply yes, then they actually do it. How about it? Like, I remember one time I opened a DM, and it was a Loom video playing like this, and it was a guy's face, and it was my Twitter account or something like that, I think. And I thought, wow, somebody has taken the time to go to my Twitter account and break it down and like show me lead sources and all of that. And I opened it, and it was just a picture that loaded into something that was generic. And I'm like, oh, damn. And there's so many AI tools out there now that swap out the name, or you can create one video and then it creates multiple variants, and you can spam it to a whole bunch of people. But really, if you take the time and you go, okay, who is my perfect ICP, ideal customer profile, and where do they hang out, and what problem can I solve for them, and how much value can I add up front that would make it ridiculous for them to turn down working with me further. And if somebody DM'd me a video that was like, hey, I broke down your whole funnel, or here is a way that you can add another traffic source, or double your school group, or I paid to join your school group, and like it doesn't cost that much, and one of the guys that I'm working with now, he joined my school group, and we've been working together for the last couple weeks now. And I've already paid him thousands of dollars. And it was only because he joined my school group right in the very beginning. And I'm like, well, if I'm going to be working with somebody, it's going to be that guy. There's another guy in my school group who's looking for a job, and I'm looking to hire. And I'm like, well, why would I go outside of my circle of outside of my school group when there are people inside my school group that trust me with their money to give it to me, even though it's just a small amount? And so if there is somebody in your ICP and they have a paid thing, pay them for it and get in their group, get into their inner circle. Hormozi even talks about how he paid Arnold Schwarzenegger's charity $1 million just so he could get noticed by Arnold Schwarzenegger and be able to hang out with him. And, now they're BFFs or something like that. And so a lot of the work that you will do here will go to waste. But the 20% that land and open, and, they will make you tens of thousands, if not hundreds of thousands of dollars. And so I'm yet to see somebody blow me away with something like this, other than the one or two people that have joined my school group, and then they've offered me a ton of value up front, and I'm like, bro, let's just work together, let me pay you for this. You're going above and beyond. I don't want you to work for free. And, I've paid them thousands of dollars already, and they paid me, a couple $100 being in the school group for a few months. And so, yeah, you can do this personalized Loom video stuff, but do it right. Don't say that you've got something filmed for them when you don't. Like, just send it to them, Value first outreach, so you can build a list of 100 dream clients, send them massive free value they can use instantly, and now they know, like, and trust you. You can also build in some lumpy mail stuff. Like, when is the last time you got a package in the mail that with handwritten notes and stuff like that? I would say very rarely. Like, you get DMs, you get emails all the time, super generic, spammy stuff. But when's the last time you got a physical, something like this big in the mail, and you opened it up and there was something that somebody, another human being, clearly took the time because they thought that you were important enough to invest in putting together this package for you? It very rarely happens. And so if you only have 100 dream prospects in the world, this is a fantastic way of doing outreach. And then what most people do, and look, I'm not going to knock it because, I do a version of this as well. I do it slightly differently. But this has kind of become a little too commonplace now with mass volume cold email. So you pitch a low commitment, zero risk offer. You can use AI personalization tools like I do. And really, it's a volume game. So you just do as much as you can, and you automate the delivery and distribution of lead magnets. So, you can use Clay, Instantly, Limlist, Smart Lead. I personally use Instantly and Clay. I'll leave affiliate links to them below, but, they're the market leaders. And, I have even had the one of the directors of Instantly on my podcast, and like I think what they're doing is by far the best in the market. So that's why I'm using them. Um, but look, you can do this wrong and you can do this right. If you're doing it wrong, you get 1% reply rates. If you're doing it right, like I showed you, you get 27% reply rates. And so if you want me to break down like exactly what types of scripts I use, what type of lead magnet I use, because I don't reach out with emails that sell people things, I think that is a waste of time and you're just going to burn through domains and waste money. What I do is I reach out with value, right? And then this is really important here. What if they don't reply? Well, follow up. How many times do you follow up? Until they say no. How many times is that? Well, as many times as it takes. So back in the day, I used to send LinkedIn voice messages, which again is a fantastic way of doing outreach. Now, it's not scalable, but what are you trying to scale? One client to me is worth tens of thousands of dollars. And so if I acquire one client after doing it 500 times, it's more than worth it, right? And so it doesn't take nearly that long. It just takes a handful of days for me to start to get prospects replying and in the pipeline. And so again, if you come back to this sort of 4 different ways of doing it, pick the method of outreach based on how much is one client worth to you and how many of them exist in the world, and are they easy to reach? Like, can you email them, call them, find them on LinkedIn, find their address, send them physical mail? Maybe you only have 50 email addresses. Maybe you only have 10 phone numbers, and that's it. And so you don't want to burn through them. You want to be smart about it. But LinkedIn voice messages is a great way to cut through, because who takes the time? And I would actually do this. I'd like go to their LinkedIn, look through their business, go to their website, look through their website, and then I would send them a voice message that wasn't AI, that was actually insightful, and be like, hey John, I saw that you are such and such. I love how on your website you've got this thing, so they know that it's real, and I'm not doing this at scale to 1,000 people a day or using some unique AI thing that they haven't heard of yet. So I would start by not doing the scalable stuff and then eventually scale it. But I had enormous success with doing that and following up and following up and following up. And actually, next time prospects ghost you, instead of sending a generic message, try sending this. It has higher response rates than almost anything else. And so my experience has been the same. Instead of saying, hey prospect, just following up here, hey, just bumping this message, I send them something funny or scroll stopping. One of the ones that I use, let me see if I can find it for you. Yeah, so I can't share everything without doxing like everybody's stuff. So what I would do is I would send them this follow-up and I'd be like, hey, John, just making sure that this doesn't fall between the cracks, and then send them this GIF. And the amount of times I got people, because it like creates an emotional response, and ducks, everyone likes the ducks, and then they fall through and they get this like this oh my god feeling. So no ducks were harmed in the making of this, but you get the idea. Be different, be bold, be unique, and follow up as many times as they take to say no, and be respectful. That's really important. Be respectful. Don't be a pain. Don't be a nuisance. So you can contact them multiple times to show them you're serious. As somebody that has people reaching out to them, I don't mind being reached out to a whole bunch of different times and being followed up. In fact, oftentimes I appreciate it, because I'm so busy. I've got so many other things going on. I appreciate when people follow up, because I've got so many things on my plate that things do fall between the cracks, and oftentimes it's the person who is the most persistent that eventually turns into an employee or a freelancer that I work with or something like that. Because those are the types of people I want to work with, that really want to work with me so much that they follow up 9 times. And so as a general rule of thumb, I try to follow up 7 to 9 times with a prospect. Obviously, if they don't reply after multiple months, there's no point in flogging a dead horse, as they say. So, there's some nuance to it. but yeah, use your best judgment. And then oftentimes, instead of just following up on the same channel like LinkedIn, send them an email, giving them a phone call. It's great to just sort of break out of, maybe there's 100 people messaging them on LinkedIn. For me, for example, I don't have my LinkedIn notifications turned on. And so I need to go into LinkedIn for all of that to be seen. Sometimes things just literally fall between the cracks. Yeah. So use different ways of reaching out to people. And so lastly, why should we do cold outreach? Because it's not incredibly scalable, at least not in the beginning, or at least you shouldn't be doing the scalable stuff in the beginning. That's the whole point of cold outreach. Ads are sexier, let's be honest. And so why should we do all of this? Why should we go through this hassle? Well, firstly, you don't have to churn out endless pieces of content or ads. And importantly, competitors won't be able to see your outreach and funnel hack you. Because of ad platforms and spy tools, I can see everyone's ads and all the things that they're running. And then most people just end up copying those ads, right? And copying those funnels and funnel hacking them. Like I've built the channel on basically like funnel hacking everybody and documenting it for you guys, and then sharing all of the resources inside the free school group here, which you can join, link below. I've got Mark Roper's funnel, one of the funnels that I built, a whole bunch of other stuff, Sabri Subi's funnel, all in the classroom here, right? Hormozi's funnels. So the only reason I'm able to kind of do this is because it's all public. But cold outreach, everything is private. You can't see my DMs in my LinkedIn. You can't see my emails that I send out, right? So you're also you're able to sort of move in secrecy if that's important for you. And the process is reliable and repeatable. So cold outreach is not going anywhere. It's always going to exist. Platforms may change. Attention may shift from TikTok to Instagram. But the method of cold outreach across whatever channel is always going to work. And you're far less vulnerable to constant platform changes. And importantly, there's no face of the brand needed. So oftentimes the people that I'm outreaching to, I don't have a gigantic brand, but the reason that I've taken the initiative and I've reached out to them and they're engaging with me, it's because I reached out to them. They didn't go searching for the solution. They didn't get hit with an ad. They didn't get retargeted a whole bunch. I managed to land in their inbox at the right time, or in their DMs at the right time. And then I led with value. They liked and they trust me. And then we built rapport. I educated them up the awareness ladder, and then sold them. There's no brand needed. And so if you're brand new, a cold outreach is a fantastic way of getting started. And it's very difficult for other people to replicate, because it's private. And so that's one of the reasons that I would suggest, if you're just getting started, if you're an agency owner, or you're a you're a consultant or a coach or something, cold outreach is fantastic. Make sure you pick the right one. And if you want my help from this, leave a comment below. Otherwise, join the paid school group, and let me know if you like these sorts of things, and I'll break down the other types of core 4 in this book here, which you can find here. So cold outreach, warm outreach, post free content, run paid ads. I have the most experience with cold outreach, but I've also run paid ads. Obviously, I'm posting free content, which you're watching right now. And then warm outreach as well, I've had some experience with. But Hormozi breaks it down in this big, thick, juicy book here. And so I'm reading it and I'm summarizing all this stuff so you don't have to, and putting it together into comprehensive videos. So if you like that kind of content, like, subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one. Thanks, guys.